Good evening and welcome to this special edition of Cronkite News on Arizona PBS. I'm Stephanie Shields. Thank you for joining us. Cronkite News is committed to covering health news across the state. Tonight, a look back on stories including the number of families in Arizona turning away from vaccinations, as well as the impact of an E. coli outbreak.
With the recent suicides of two celebrities, it is important to watch out for mental and physical health. As Cronkite News reporter Allison Snell explains, knowing what to look for and how to help can save someone's life.
Thank you, Sam. Both style icon Kate Spade and celebrity chef Anthony Bourdain ended their own lives this week. I talked with mental health experts who want people to be able to recognize the signs of depression.
Idea of there's hope and there is help out there.
Reaching out can be one of the first steps towards suicide prevention.
A non-judgmental open ear to talk, and for someone to just be able to listen to them about what's going on and in the world.
New technology gives more ways than just calling a hotline to get help.
But there's also new apps that help connect people to even counselors or other supportive services. And I think that's one of the main things that we have to also keep in mind with these apps is that coping skills and learning how to kind of manage our emotions is really important, and regulating our emotions and learning those skills really important. But we also have to remember to encourage people to reach out and connect to other people.
Music can also help in coping skills and awareness.
Last year, the rapper Logic wrote a Grammy-nominated song, and the title of it was, in fact, The Lifeline Number. So that brought a lot of publicity to the number.
Experts say that reaching out does not make you weak.
The fact is we can struggle and still handle life.
So we want to make it as accessible as possible, so we consistently, take a look at the volume of calls, where they're coming from, and looking at the strength of our network to make sure that those calls all get answered.
Paying attention to both mental and physical health is key.
Where if you just address the emotions and you don't address the physical part, a lot of times those symptoms don't resolve without looking really at the whole person.
If you need help, you can call 1-800-273-TALK, or you can text CONNECT to 741-741. In the broadcast center, Allison Snell, Cronkite News.
The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention reports that nearly half of all people who die from suicide have a diagnosed mental health condition. So much still needs to be done to address this issue. As Cronkite News reporter Ariana Bustos reports, Arizona lags behind most of the country for access to mental health care.
A minimum of 50 beds per 100,000 people is considered necessary to provide care to people with mental illness, according to the Treatment Advocacy Center. The average number of beds per 100,000 people in the United States was about 12 in 2016. For Arizona, it was 4.4. But John Snook, executive director of the Treatment Advocacy Center, said Arizona is trying.
I think there's a recognition of that as a problem, and there are some ideas that the state is looking to that are really working. And so there's opportunities there for the rest of the state to say, let's try to make that happen here as well.
Mental Health America ranks states based on access to mental health care. In its 2018 report, Arizona ranked 49 among states and the District of Columbia. Heidi Capriotti, Public Information Officer for Arizona's Medicaid program, said the report doesn't take into account Arizona's unique programs like peer support and crisis response.
As we begin to look at this broader picture of how we serve our communities with different resources, again, that aren't necessarily considered in the methodology of how MHA does their report.
Paul John Frito, President and CEO of Mental Health America, said Arizona had to make up for lack of funding in the past, which may have actually made better programs that are not counted in the mental health ranking.
I also think that Arizona, because in some respects, it didn't have the healthcare delivery system that was built basically with the support of Medicaid dollars, had to explore alternatives to traditional services.
Snook said despite shortcomings, Arizona has a positive outlook.
There's some really innovative and exciting things happening. So I would say that Arizona is one of those places I would look to and say, this is somewhere to be excited about.
Reporting from Washington, Ariana Bustos, Cronkite News.
The Human Rights Campaign recently surveyed over 12,000 LGBTQ teens. The survey found that too many are bullied, rejected at home, and feel hopeless. Cronkite News reporter Amanda Mason spoke with a family that shows these kids need support and compassion.
My name is Juno Byer. I'm 18 years old and my pronouns are they and them.
Juno Byer came out freshman year of high school and identifies as non-binary, which means Juno doesn't identify with either gender. Juno still faces challenges and was not surprised by the survey statistics that show 24% of LGBTQ youth can definitely be themselves as an LGBTQ person at home.
I've seen it with my own eyes. I've seen, the percentage of homeless youth. I've seen the percentage of kids who go through there every day at school hearing, slurs thrown at them. I've seen every percentage of kid that doesn't have supportive parents or that gets kicked out. Every number on that sheet is a kid that I know that's been through that.
The survey also revealed that 70% of LGBTQ youth have been bullied at school because of their sexual orientation, and some report problems at home as well.
We have a few people who, close friends of mine who actually came out to their parents and were kicked out, who my mom and my dad took in and now have lived with us for about a year.
I mean, we probably have contact with 20 to 30 LGBTQ kids on a regular basis that are friends of Juno's and kids we know. And they struggle with those things. Juno's struggled with those things, names and pronouns at school, non-gender bathrooms, I mean, it's really prevalent and it's sad.
Parents play a big role in positive outcomes of youth. The survey reported only 25% of LGBTQ youth have families who show support for them by getting involved in the larger LGBTQ and ally community. One of those community allies is 1 in 10. Sebastian Henderson says the organization's community room brings them peace.
I went through a phase where I was really suicidal, like really suicidal. And partly it was because people didn't understand me and I didn't understand them. And I couldn't be myself around them, So when I come here, they, like I said, they understand me, so I can let go.
In Phoenix, Amanda Mason, Cronkite News.
3 out of 4 teenagers surveyed report recently feeling depressed. If you or someone you know is struggling, check out our website for resources at cronkitenews.azpbs.org.
The House and Homeland Security Subcommittee held a hearing on the opioid crisis in relation to the United States having an unsecure border. Reporter Emily Richardson attended the hearing to see what the state of Arizona is doing to combat the crisis.
Governor Doug Ducey testified at the hearing today, only one day after he ended the formal emergency public health declaration he issued last year because of opioid addiction and overdoses.
We have certainly made progress, but we know that the fight remains deadly and that it is far from over.
According to Governor Doug Ducey, that progress includes policy initiatives in the Arizona Opioid Epidemic Act, like improving access to treatment, enhancing medical education for all professions that prescribe or dispense opioids, and enacting a Good Samaritan law. However, in Arizona, more than 1,200 deaths during the past year are suspected to be opioid-related. Congresswoman Martha McSally believes part of the problem lies with the country's unsecured borders.
The overwhelming majority of drugs, maybe as high as 90%, that enter our country come through the nation's ports of entry. In order to mitigate these illicit pathways, we must secure the border and strengthen our postal system.
Another concern is that China is producing fentanyl in large quantities and smuggling it into the U.S. through the postal system. But McSally says law enforcement and border security will never be enough to end the opioid crisis.
We cannot enforce our way out of this problem. We must also tackle the crisis with treatment and recovery options that help restore individuals to health and break the cycle of addiction.
Governor Ducey also recommended an almost $3 million expansion of the Arizona Border Strike Force in the state's annual budget to help detect and deter drug smuggling. In the Broadcast Center, Emily Richardson, Cronkite News.
Opioid addiction is a major concern everywhere. CVS pharmacies here in Arizona are expanding its safe medicine disposal program.
It allows customers to discard pills they no longer need. Cronkite News reporter Kevin Fleshman spoke with local law enforcement on how this program can help fight a deadly epidemic.
Opioids are blamed for nearly 1,400 deaths here in Arizona over the past year, according to the Department of Health Services. Now, CVS Pharmacy is expanding its safe medication program that will allow customers to safely discard of any expired or unused prescriptions they no longer use. Attorney General Mark Brenovich said they know opioid addiction impacts many families.
We know the opioid crisis here in Arizona is tearing families apart. We've seen recent statistics that show that 3 Arizonans die every single day as a result of opioid overdoses.
CVS is expanding a safe medication disposal program to 13 other Valley locations. Customers may drop off their unused prescriptions to boxes like these. The Phoenix Police Department says getting rid of unused medication can help stop the cycle of addiction.
The Phoenix Police Department has always been and continues to be in a position where we do whatever we can to stop drug abuse. But also we often fail to realize drug misuse, and that's where much of this starts. When someone takes one pill, one Oxycontin, one oxycodone, many times not prescribed to them, they don't realize the path that they're going down.
A path that can lead to opioid addiction, heroin addiction, and even overdose.
Drug addiction, drug abuse, drug misuse is a community problem. Together we can make a difference.
In Phoenix, Kevin Fleischman, Cronkite News.
In addition to the added kiosks, CVS is also awarding 2 grants. It is giving $25,000 to ICANN to support the Chandler Youth Service Organization's substance abuse program. El Rio Health in Tucson will receive $85,000 to provide education in managing chronic pain.
A, B, and O blood types are disappearing, and today the American Red Cross launched the Missing Types campaign to encourage new blood donors to save lives. I spoke with a mother and a daughter today who were able to survive because of blood donations. Every 2 seconds, someone in the United States needs blood. When Mary Jo Fasani was pregnant with her first child, she needed 100 units of O-negative blood to keep her and her daughter alive.
It was amazing, and being O-negative is such a rare type, I was having to get blood transferred from New Mexico, Kentucky, Ohio, all across the nation because we didn't have enough in our own supply. So I was getting lots of blood from everywhere.
Fasani's daughter, 20-year-old Sophia, has been running blood drives since high school to raise awareness. Born at only 4 pounds and without a heartbeat, she is grateful for the generosity of those willing to give blood.
Without the donors, I don't know if my mommy would actually be here today.
During the summer and Christmas holidays, the Red Cross sees a 20% drop in available blood on hospital shelves.
I think people don't realize the importance of one blood donation because that one blood donation can save up to 3 different lives. So even if you donate just once a year, you have the potential to save 3 different people.
American Red Cross says giving blood donations is actually pretty easy. All you need is an hour of your time.
It's a simple thing to do. It doesn't cost you anything. It costs you a little bit of your time, and that's it. So when there's other things that you can't give monetarily, you can give your blood to help save a life.
Mary Jo Fasani has a message for the 100 donors that saved her and her daughter.
If I could hug all of them, I would, because I have a beautiful baby girl, and even after she was born, my body had shut down, so I received more blood in the hospitals. So without those donors, I wouldn't be alive to be a mom.
Blood can last for 42 days on the shelf and is in constant demand at hospitals. The Red Cross provides around 40% of the total blood donations. In the next couple of weeks, you may see missing A's, B's, and O's in signs and brands to raise awareness for the missing types of blood.
As journalists at Cronkite News, we report on stories that matter to you by focusing on the local impact. We dig deeper and work tirelessly to keep you informed.
Live in Wickenburg.
Live in Los Angeles. In Cleveland. In Washington. In Louisville.
From Jerusalem.
Live in Philadelphia.
From around the world to right here in Phoenix.
At Cronkite News, we report the facts and stick to the truth.
Join us each week on Catalyst, the show that explores new advancements, technologies, and innovations at Arizona State University that are shaping the future for tomorrow and beyond. Catalyst, Wednesdays at 9, right here on Arizona PBS.
A new study shows that Maricopa County is among the highest-ranking counties for parents opting out of vaccines for their children. Reporter Nicole Hernandez spoke with doctors about the impact of this information.
In Maricopa County, nearly 3,000 enrolling kindergartners had non-medical exemptions for vaccinations. This study was published in the Public Library of Science.
18 states allow parents to opt out of vaccinating their children because of personal beliefs.
I really think that part of that is because we're living in an age of almost information overload. We have so much news and so much information coming at us from so many different angles, it can be hard to know what to believe.
Physician Laura Glenn says the vaccination debate is too polarized and that information is key for parents.
To make an informed decision, they need to be looking vaccine by vaccine, to illness, and looking at, well, what are the risks of contracting the illness? What are the possible consequences of the child getting the illness? What are the risks of the vaccine?
But these decisions are new for parents. In years past, vaccinations were a no-brainer.
We live in an era where vaccines have been around long enough that a lot of these diseases are things that parents haven't seen in their lifetime.
Having such low vaccination rates can affect more than just the unvaccinated children and people around them.
You also have the effect on the healthcare system, and so that utilizes more healthcare resources and increases the amount of money that's spent in the community.
While the rate in Arizona sounds high, actually our state is tied for 4th with Utah. Oregon, Idaho, and Wisconsin had higher non-vaccination rates from 2016 to 2017.
And one thing both doctors touched on was the idea of herd immunity. If enough of a population is vaccinated, it can protect those who aren't from getting the diseases. But that system relies on high vaccination rates. In the broadcast center, Nicole Hernandez, Cronkite News.
The E. coli outbreak, blamed on romaine lettuce from Yuma, did more than just affect those who came down with the illness. As Nicole Hernandez reports, there was a significant hit to the vegetable industry's economy.
Yuma is one of the largest producers of lettuce nationwide, sending crops to states across the country and internationally. Last year, romaine lettuce alone brought in more than $500 million to the state's agricultural community. But the E. coli outbreak cut lettuce sales in half for the last few weeks of Yuma Farm's growing season.
The shelf life of the infected lettuce was about 3 weeks, but farmers are still feeling the effects of the outbreak.
The big downside that happened to us is, we've kind of destroyed consumer confidence in our product and what we do.
To fix that, farms in Yuma must work harder to keep out potential contaminants like animals and trash.
It doesn't matter if I have the outbreak, my neighbor has the outbreak, or the little garden farm down the street has the outbreak.
Either way, it hurts business.
When the lettuce industry in Yuma suffers, it affects more than just the farms. Its industry is so large that it affects large companies nationwide, costing companies like Kroger big bucks.
And they're going to take a loss on that product. They can no longer put it out on the shelves. They're going to have to dispose of that. There's also costs associated with informing the public.
Now that there's no more health concern with lettuce, farmers must work to regain the consumer's trust before the next growing season this November.
And then the question is, what can we do as farmers so that doesn't happen again?
To start, farmers can build more fences around their crops and increase the amount of pathogen testing they do throughout the growing season. One thing you can do to help maintain food safety is always wash your fruits and vegetables under running water before eating them. Nicole Hernandez, Cronkite News.
With summer on the horizon and temperatures reaching well into the hundreds, the need to serve the homeless population is always critical during this time of year. Cronkite News reporter Kevin Fleischman traveled to downtown Phoenix, where St. Vincent de Paul just opened their state-of-the-art shelter.
That's right, Emily. The shelter is called Ozone Manor, and its goal is to provide help until those homeless or disabled can find permanent housing. For Gary Crosby, to have a place to live and eat is a blessing. Crosby moved to Phoenix from Florida last year after the hurricane hit and ended up in a motel, but ran out of money and was getting evicted.
It's a blessing. Great blessing. I tell everyone, by seeing a lot of people out there and coming across this community, this environment, excuse me, it's happy. I'm happy. It's a blessing because everything's here.
St. Vincent de Paul just opened a brand new 40,000 square foot building, providing new beds, showers, and other amenities. With homelessness on the rise in the state of Arizona, places like St. Vincent de Paul are doing their part to make sure people have a place to live and eat. Julia Matthews, director of O's on the Manor, feels it's their mission to help those that are struggling and going through rough times.
St. Vincent de Paul knew that this was an area that they really wanted to continue serving in because our older and disabled population of homeless folks are the most vulnerable, some of the most vulnerable.
Crosby says he has plenty of goals for himself. He wants to get healthy and eventually leave St. Vincent de Paul.
Absolutely, that's the goal. I was telling Cynthia the other day that my goal is not to make this into a permanent residence.
And he wants to see his family again.
I would love to go back to visit, my daughters. They have grandkids now. I haven't never had the opportunity to meet them yet. They're young.
Now, in order to qualify for housing with St. Vincent de Paul, you have to be at least 18 years of age or older and have a medical disability. In the broadcast center, Kevin Fleischman, Cronkite News.
73,000 residents in Phoenix are members of senior centers. To beat the heat and get creative, some participated in the Creative Aging Showcase. Allison Snell shows us what their art is all about.
Thanks, Maya. The art project shares a day in the life of the artist through pictures, sculptures, and collages.
Seeing so many older adults gathered together and being celebrated for their creativity and life experience.
Phoenix has changed over time, and these older adults say they have changed too over the course of the art project.
It helped me come out my box. I was always a person that was just in the background, not step forward and participate as much.
The Creative Aging program gives participants the chance to be original and share their personal experiences through art.
Opportunity to showcase their artistry that represents the wisdom of life lived is a really special opportunity.
The vibrant community brings their passions to life in the form of photographs, paintings, sculptures, and short stories.
And I just love the idea, particularly of these photographs and stories, as an opportunity to connect with the history of Phoenix and with people's lived experience, the history of Phoenix.
The Creative Aging program is on its third year and plans to continue for years to come. In the broadcast center, Allison Snell, Cronkite News.
More and more men are becoming Mr. Mom while the wives become the breadwinner. Nia Rowan joins us live from our Los Angeles bureau with more on this trend.
Stay-at-home dads have been on the rise in Phoenix and here in Los Angeles. 16% of stay-at-home parents are dads, which has risen 10% in the past 25 years. There are city groups that allow stay-at-home dads to connect with others in their community.
This is my dream come true.
Trevor Mulligan has known since he was 11 years old that being a stay-at-home dad is what he wanted to do.
I enjoy being a stay-at-home dad. I get to help him, grow and become the person they'll be. And I think that's the most amazing thing, to be able to help build a foundation for them to have a happy, wonderful life. We never get this time back. So you couldn't pay me enough money to not do it right now.
For the past 8 years, Mulligan has been able to capture moments of his two sons, Miles and Mason, that he would have missed if he had a 9-to-5 job.
They've both been swimming since they were babies. And the first year and a half, nothing happens. They're just in the water and they don't know how to swim. They don't understand it. And I remember the day where my oldest all of a sudden went, oh, and he started swimming. And it was just done, but it was like I could see the light all of a sudden go on, and that was the most amazing thing ever.
We make up lots of the games. We play like Don't Cross the Blue Line. So there's a blue line in the pool. So my dad makes sure that we don't cross it by throwing us back whenever we come.
According to Zillow, Los Angeles is number 4 and Phoenix is number 8 for most common stay-at-home parents. But when it comes to stay-at-home dads, LA is 23 and Phoenix is 31.
I think being a stay-at-home dad is different vibe than when mothers stay at home. And I don't care what gender you are, it's hard work.
Although Mulligan says he does get weird looks sometimes, he thinks that staying home with his boys is giving them a better experience than anyone, including his wife, could have given them. There are city groups in 34 cities as of right now for stay-at-home dads to connect, including in Arizona. Mulligan was the co-founder of the group here in Los Angeles. There are events for the dads to share experiences and have dads night out, as well as playdates and beach days with the kids. In Los Angeles, I'm Nia Roanne for Cronkite News.
For families with a child diagnosed with neurological disorders, a day out at the lake can be challenging. But as reporter Nicole Hernandez shows us, Barrow Neurological Institute is helping to make water sports a reality, at least for a few days. More than 100 volunteers were on the docks helping people with neurological or physical disabilities participate in water sports.
It feels exhilarating. It just feels nice to kind of have the wind on your face and not for a second have kind of the confines of the wheelchair.
And despite their physical challenges, almost everyone was riding wave after wave after wave with determination.
I'm one of the neurosurgeons at the Barrow, and so many of my patients have been out here, and it's just really meaningful for me to watch them recover after rehab, and getting out here, it makes it all worthwhile.
Today's participants have over a half dozen choices of water sports, including kayaking, water skiing, and adaptive surfing.
You swing, I swing. These programs are life-changing. The families get to play together. They're taking a break from going to the hospital, or sitting in waiting rooms for therapy.
This is the 22nd year the Barrow Neurological Institute has hosted the event at Bartlett Lake, giving hope and happiness to hundreds of families.
I just find it kind of as that peaceful moment where everything's just kind of silent and calm.
On Bartlett Lake, Nicole Hernandez, Cronkite News.
Thanks for joining us for this special edition of Cronkite News. For top Arizona stories anytime, go to cronkitenews.azpbs.org.